Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Prove All Things. I want to thank everybody who's joining us today, whether you're watching live now on YouTube or Facebook. If you are, we're looking forward to your comments or watching on Twitter or on the CGI Digital Network, on our website, or in our apps, whether that's on your phone, tablet, or Roku television or Apple TV. All those things out there. We thank you for joining us live, and all those who are watching as or listening to this as a podcast later. We thank you for joining us as well. I'm joined with co-host Mike James. How you doing, Mike?
Hey Jeff, doing well out here in California. I'm going to be traveling over to Ohio this weekend. I'm going to shoot some new Armor of God programs and some YouTube videos. So I'm working on that this week.
Sounds exciting. Yeah, I was just in Tyler, Texas last week. And it was, good visiting the office, as you know how it is. Sometimes go visit with everybody, see what's going on. They changed quite a few things since the last time I was there. We have like a whole printing outfit now where all the things are printed there. It's kind of amazing to see all the stuff that's now there as far as because again that's our major thing that we send out is now printed materials, whether it's booklets or international news, things like that. We're kind of easing away from CDs. We only send out, I think, maybe 100 CDs a week. Which I know when I was working there, and at one point when I was working there, I was the one making the CDs, and I would make. I know when I made like 2,000 or 3,000 CDs because in one week that was a lot of work. But now the people can just go right on the app and listen to it or listen to it on the website. We're not, the need for CDs is going away, I think. But definitely things are going well. The people there are doing great, and got to talk to Vance Stinson and Charles Gross and John Reedy and Win Skelton and Larry Watkins and so many of the people in the congregation there that were there for the Sabbath. And the congregation there had something special planned for that Sabbath. They all went out and sang at a nursing home, some hymns and stuff, and so I went and joined them. And again, I can't sing, but you know what? That was something it was a fun thing to do, to go out and to sing all those hymns and stuff. It was a good time. So I'm glad to be back at home because I miss my family, and it's good to be back. But speaking of Tyler, while I was in Tyler, I met with another person I want to mention because he's actually with us today and he's standing by. Uh, and here he is, Blake Silverstein. How
There,
you doing, Blake?
there he is.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Okay, Blake, good to see you again.
You too. Good to see you, Jeff, without a bite of enchilada in your mouth.
Yes,
Oh
yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
we're,
I went with Blake and we went to Abuelo's, which it's just like there's so many good Tex-Mex restaurants in Texas,
hmm
but that's kind of one of the best. It was really good. I was like, I was just again, Mexican food here in in Georgia is okay, but it's not Tex-Mex. It's Tex-Mex. There's something to it that's
yeah.
quite special.
We got it down, man. We got it down. I knew exactly. I said you're going to be in town. We're going to go meet there. I knew that was your spot. So
Yeah.
was happy to talk with you. It's always fun to talk with you about talk shop, as it were.
Yep,
So
definitely.
yeah, a lot of fun. Cool.
Yeah, speaking of talking shop, I guess today's broadcast is a continuation of our last one, where I guess you've been having some meetings. You can just tell people what you've been doing and what's come from this initiative that you're doing.
Sure. I mean, it's what we're all involved in, discipleship and evangelism, and we've been having these calls about once a month. Mike's a part of it. And hopefully at some point you can join us as well, Jeff. But it's a focused conversation about evangelism right now, as opposed to 5, 10, 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Broadly put, and where we're at with it. How's it going? What's been working, what's not been working, how can we get better at it, broadly put. And the group of people there, I think it's about 12 to 15 people, all personally invited, and all kind of different backgrounds in a lot of ways, different age groups, and different churches as well. And It's been going really well. I've been having a good time. That's always been my measure. When we leave the call, did I have a good time? Which sounds silly, but like, was it enjoyable? And I think that it's been enjoyable every time we've talked. And so I'm here to discuss some of the things that we've distinguished on those calls, and to see if maybe you guys might have some input.
Okay, very good, very
Mhm.
good.
Mhm.
So, how are we going to start this?
I sent over a slide deck to Jeff. We could start there.
There we go.
Evangelism, having conversations that stick. Well, right off the bat, we have a misnomer here. Is evangelism only conversations?
Hmm.
What do you guys think? Is it only conversations that we've?
Hmm. Well, I mean, is evangelism can be people can read something and receive evangelism. I guess
Mhm.
there's printed materials as well, and also there's like what we do in sermons, right? That's kind of just
One-way
only
conversation.
one way.
Mhm.
Yes,
Monologuing. Yeah.
doesn't the term come from the Greek for good news, evangelio?
Bringer of
Uh,
good news, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, good news can come in many ways, can't it? Definitely one-on-one conversation, but I think Jeff is right. The website itself is bringing the good news in written
Mhm.
form, in spoken form. So
Uh,
yeah, there's a lot of means to do
Mhm.
this, no doubt.
Skip Martin
yeah.
has something to add to it. Our
No.
actions are important.
Our actions are important. Yes.
Yeah.
He
But
said no. Like,
exclamation point.
is
Yeah.
there only one way, Skip?
So there's a young lady on the call. I won't name, just kind of, who knows if she wants to be named or not. But her primary form of evangelism is she has these little kits, little packages. She puts together, toothpaste and some bottled water and just some stuff, right? That a person who's maybe homeless or down on their luck, that if she sees them, she'll go and hand it to them,
Mhm.
right? And she's got and I think I could be wrong, but I think she puts something inside there, like a little prayer, like a little note with a prayer on there, and and then she hands it to people. Probably doesn't have a conversation, might have a conversation, and she hands it to them, and then that's her form of evangelism, right? It's an action. There's no conversation. So, and she said that's been highly effective. Now, do you? So you hand that thing to that person, and then you go about your day. Um, you know, that was the other thing we talked about. You probably will never see the fruits of your labor in that regard, and that's a big part, I think, about evangelism, is especially personal evangelism, is to let go of having to see um, the results, the fruits of your labor, so to speak. They're not yours anyways. And I don't even know if you would know if you had done well. You might just, not even be able to distinguish what's taking place over there. But anyways, but we haven't got past the first slide. I just wanted to draw a light to, that yeah, it's not necessarily conversations.
Mhm.
And I think I liked what Seth put here. A real friend in hard times can spread the good news. Yeah, man. I mean, I think there's something really keen about being there at the right time. And the right time is usually when people are going through trials. I mean, the huge impact that you make with someone when you're holding their hand, not even speaking scriptures, maybe scriptures involved, but just really showing them what a Christian, a Christian, follower of Christ, does, what it looks like. And again, they're drawn to that.
Yeah, I think you hit on something there, Blake. Just being an elder in the church, more people are going to call you or email you when they're having some trouble, and it gives you that opportunity not to just tell them, "Hey, you need to do this, you need to do that," but you need to give them something sometimes. And that, I think, is what true religion is. There's
Mhm.
a scripture in the Bible about it's not about just telling somebody, go take care of yourself and I hope the best for you. You actually have to do something, whether it's give them some money, give them some food, make a phone call to somebody who's in that town for them to go see this person and have a place to stay that night, whatever it may be. That is a form of evangelism too, because you're living the religion, you're helping the person in that moment, rather than just saying, "Oh yeah, read John 3:13 or 3:16, and that's going to take care of you." That doesn't fill somebody's belly or give them a warm bed to sleep in at night.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You're demonstrating the love of Christ that's in you, and that goes a long way.
Yes. So I got a call 3 weeks ago from a friend in Houston, and young guy. I think I say young. Oh man, he's like 37, so that's not young, but young.
That's
younger.
young to me now, man.
So, anyways, lost his job, and been down on his luck, and hey, I need some help. Didn't come out and ask for anything, but I said, hey, look, let me know. I got some people that are there. He's about to get kicked out of his, he said, I'm about to be evicted. And I said, look, let's get you set up with a place to stay. And I'm going to transfer, some money to your account. And he said, I'll pay you back. I'll pay you back. And I'm like, don't worry about that. Just get yourself set up, get yourself going. And, he sent back that he was just moved to tears. He said, you're going to make me cry, bro. And later on, we started to talk about, where was he at with God? Did he believe in God? I was wondering, cause this wasn't even part of he's not a part of the church. And he said, I believe in a God. And there was this idea about, a creator. He was agnostic, but we started to talk about, that I'm just doing this because it's what Christians should do. We should help each other out. You know what I mean? And he and I have been kind of talking about different scriptures since then. He's, now he's getting a second round of interviews. Anyways, I just think that that's, again, these kind of forms of evangelism. And I think that's an evangelistic effort, right? It was, and when I wasn't going about it in that way, I was just, trying to help someone out in need, right? Not necessarily having some kind of focused effort to get someone to the cross per se. And I think if there is something that would be effective, it would be something like leading with love. I heard this recently: lead with love, not law. Lead with love, not law. And not that law is not a part of the conversation. Law is something that I think that is a personalized thing. As far as how you keep it and how you struggle with it and how you overcome certain things that are challenging for you. But I think a part of that is presenting what that looks like in action, not without having used words. Anyways.
Yeah, you know what? You say lead with love. That's what Jesus did, right? Because he would heal someone, and then he'd say, "Oh, go and sin no more." Afterwards, like he would heal them, or different things he would do. But it's always the love was first, but he kind of would throw that law in a little bit, like, "Hey, now get yourself straight and stuff."
Yeah, I agree with that, Jeff. But you just made me think of something that Jesus dealt with different people in different ways. For example,
you're right.
For example, when we think of the Pharisees and Sadducees, sometimes he came on really strong with them because they had a knowledge. They had a knowledge background that maybe the tax collectors and the prostitutes didn't have. And so, but I'm with you, Jeff. But it just came to my mind that in some cases he was dealing with the people in different ways, just like Paul would say that, I want to be all things to all people. And maybe that's another piece of this, Blake, where, we're dealing with different folks in different ways, depending upon what we know about them. I'm going to deal with a Hindu in a different way than I'm going to deal with a Catholic or a Church of God person. So you got any thoughts on that, guys? What do you think?
Yes. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, I would say just off the top of my head, just yeah, I mean, definitely. You're right about Jesus. He dealt with people in different ways because different people need different things. Like some people don't need a warm hug or
Mhm.
a blanket or her help, but they need to be, they need some hard love or they need to be stretched
Right,
out. They need those,
right.
type of things to occur. So different people need different things, I guess, and
Mhm.
I guess as human beings, and I guess what's most important about evangelism is that we have to be interacting with others and making ourselves available to others to be able to do these things. Because you can't do it
Mhm.
if you're not having these interactions.
Like you were
Yeah.
saying, Jeff, when you guys went to sing at that nursing home or
Yeah,
whatever it was,
yeah,
yeah, you actually have to get out there, get
yeah.
your hands dirty, get involved, and that's how you learn more about. Oh, I should do this next time.
Here's an
Yeah.
interesting from I guess from Seth again. It says we need much better apologetics if we're going to evangelize. They're already knowledgeable. And there's a thing about apologetics, I think, because a lot of times when we're taking what we know, there's people out there that like they're all like if we're talking about the Trinity or if we're talking about the holy days, they got so much that they've studied
Mhm.
against it that if we're not ready for them, we're not really going to be much help
Sure.
to them, I guess, if we don't
I
have those
think
apologetics down.
I think those apologetics are actually should be an outgrowth. There should be a level of understanding and comprehension that is an
Yeah,
outgrowth of action. And so, in other words,
right.
it's orienting. Our understanding is solid. We
Hmm.
solid found where our relationship with Christ is, and then we get into action.
Hmm.
There is just a natural. Um, I get a text message. I'm getting laid off. I'm getting evicted. Um, there's no thinking. There's movement. There's okay. Let's and guess what? I had a conversation with this individual the next day that was a very corrective conversation. Said,
Hmm.
look, you need to get down there to the Texas unemployment office like your hair's on fire.
Hmm.
You need, I mean, there was a real, like you said, Jeff, a kind of a tough love conversation, but it
Hmm.
didn't occur that way. It just occurred as being like straight and loving and being direct.
Hmm.
And I think that's what Christ is, very direct, very sincere, utterly,
Hmm.
connected in some
Yeah.
ways that we are here together. And there's this other thing about that there's empathy. There is empathy, but there isn't this level of just letting them off the hook. That you really are
Hmm.
really thinking through. And I think the apologetics, it really looks and comes across as almost we're neo-Gnostics in the church. We love knowledge, and so a lot of our conversations, a
Hmm.
lot of our interactions will revolve around concepts and ideas. I think
Hmm.
there needs, and that's important for sure, but it needs to be equally weighted with action as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think once you've established a relationship, when you have helped that person a third time, a fourth time, you've got to know them over a year's time or whatever it is. You have the opportunity then to have more of those conversations you're talking about, Blake, where you said, "Hey, you
Yeah.
need to get down to the employment office here." And I've had some relationships where after a while I felt like, hey, they were part of the family now. I can tell my daughter whatever, I can tell my wife whatever, and she can tell me whatever. We've got that
Mhm.
relationship established where we can just lay it out there. So, yeah, that only comes through time, through relationship. Things
Mhm.
don't happen like this. And some people get downcast and they say, "Oh, I can't do anything." You've got to hang in there with people, and then you're going to have greater opportunities with those same people.
Absolutely. Effective evangelism rests on a solid foundation of relationship. That's what we distinguish on the call as well. All these, uh, great interactions with people were from talks and conversations and people inside your network, people that were your neighbors, your literal neighbors, right? Where you've had interactions with over time, like you said, 2 and 3 and 4 times, had good conversations where you've connected with one another, you've been vulnerable with one another, there's no pretense. So I agree with you 100%. So the first slide was, we're revealing the fact that evangelism is more than just conversations can be a part of it, but that's not all. There's actions as well. So the first thing let's look at is, what we're doing. The Great Commission. Do you think the Great Commission is to you personally? Do you think Jesus Christ, when he was talking to his disciples, was telling you as an individual to go out and make disciples of all the nations? Because there's people that feel like that was just instruction to the disciples who were being trained and developed in such a way where they were specialized or special, that it wasn't necessarily instruction for you. I think that's a slippery slope.
Well, here's the thing. If it wasn't instructions to other people other than them, then we wouldn't be here in the church.
I agree with you.
Yeah. I definitely believe that there's that first century context with Scripture, but I think God put the Bible together for Christians throughout the ages to get some knowledge from and understanding also. So,
yeah, I think that, I think we're in accord here. We're all in. We're together on this. I think that it's to everyone. Now, that being said, will everyone's approach to evangelism be the same? Excuse me. Will everyone's approach be the same? No. Will everyone do the same thing as far as conversations versus action? We just talked about this. No. So there's. I think there's some nuance, understanding that they were individuals. Christ was talking to individuals, and they were going to go to do the Great Commission however they understood it. I think we should have the same kind of approach. We have different talents. We have different God-given gifts that have been given to us uniquely, and to figure what those gifts are, and then to use those to be effective evangelists.
Right. Yeah. Not everybody can get on television and be like a good evangelist. Like you think of a television evangelist, someone who's there and connects with an audience and stuff. Not everybody can be that, but you can do the individual work as well, I guess. But I think it's a teamwork effort, because in the church, just a team. There's a lot of scriptures about us being a body, and we're all all part of this team working together towards this common goals.
And so, yes, in Jeff, I think that's where we are been lately on the call, distinguishing where those actions are, right? So we have, Bill, you got to stop with this stuff. It's tripping us up here, but no, micro, macro, and social evangelism. And what are those all different look like? I don't have enough hair to have the haircut. Bill, do you want me to get hair implants? I can go get a hair, get a rug. But some people might not be comfortable with sitting down on the person next to them on the airplane and then looking over and going, "Do you know the Lord, brother?" That's what people have, this kind of cliche idea about what evangelism is. And someone might be great at that. That might be you start up conversations, and you're able to have that very intimate conversation right off Jump Street with people, and it just works for you. Or you might be a great presenter, so you can do these great telecasts. Or maybe you're the guy that just has a hammer and a screwdriver, and you can go down to help out the little lady with her hot water heater. And those are all. Which one's the best?
Right.
Which one's the most effective?
And also, there's people who are good at going door to door. Because again, I know I guess there's a few churches that do it. Jehovah's Witnesses, definitely, they go door to door. Mormons go door to door, and sometimes Baptists will go door to door. And I've had good ones and bad ones come from each of those. Because a good person who goes door to door is able to connect with somebody, talk to them, be like, try to have a good conversation and try to work in. They're trying to work in their angle about what they're there for. But then there's bad ones, that they're not good at it. So everybody has their different gift of what you're good at or not good at.
Last night, 2 Jehovah's Witnesses showed up at our front doors, and we invited them in, and they sat down, and we were there with Jeremiah and Tracy, and we were just talking about God. And they were young guys. They were like, I think one was 17 and one was 19, and they were just kind of like, we're just having this conversation, and they're like, this is going extremely well. Like, this is going a little too well. Hold on a second here. And Tracy's like, he's a minister. They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so I say, hey, look, as opposed to us focusing on where we're different, I'd like to focus on where we have some common ground,
Mhm.
and so we had this great conversation with these young guys about, how we have some interesting shared roots as far as um, what was some of the was it the student movement? I can't remember the name of the organization that was started before the Jehovah's Witnesses, but
Mhm.
um, anyways, we have some similar doctrines, is what I was trying to say, and we kind of got into some of the origin stories of those doctrines. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, there's different approaches. These guys were great. They were friendly. They were nice, and they were looking for Spanish-speaking people. I said, well, they're around. So
Mhm.
Bible student movement. That's right, Bible student movement. Thanks,
Yeah.
Bill.
But what you were doing by again, sometimes when we let those folks into our house, we're
Hmm.
doing some evangelism ourselves. Like, you're trying to
Yeah.
relate what it is about that we find hope in Jesus and things
Hmm.
we've come to understand. You know.
That's right. Hmm. Yep. So there was some good comments here. We need the training so that we will be prepared when the time comes for us as first fruits to teach those that God is going to gather from the four winds. Yeah, I mean, that's also another way of looking at it as well, is that we're training. Evangelism and our evangelistic efforts are also a form of training personally. We get as much as we're gaining, as maybe another way of saying that. Um, so that's a good comment, Chuck. You or the church? Are we responsible, or is the church responsible, or is it both? Because historically,
Mhm.
I think we talked about this a little bit.
Mhm.
It's a pay and pray model. Send the
Yeah.
check down to headquarters. Headquarters will handle the finances.
Yeah.
They will go ahead and get this program put online, and that's a part of it. That is definitely a part
Yeah,
of it.
and I guess as somebody who works, and I guess we all work for church organizations, and again, I do appreciate people who support what we do because with that money, we're able to purchase advertising. We're able to try to reach people in different advertising ways. So that's a good thing as well, but does not take away your responsibility. The personal evangelism, I think, it's just another way of helping.
Yeah, we talked about that. The macro, right? The mass evangelism, the telecast is orienting. In other words, it also it lets people know about Jesus. It's information based, but that's only skin deep. That's the first initial thing. We talked about if we had a billboard, and you drove by, and you had Jesus saves on it or something
Hmm.
like this. It's effective and only about illuminating or elucidating what the deal is here, what Jesus is up to. And now we have I think the personal part about it, the relationship part is really important to follow up. So it has its place. It's not good or bad. It's just only as effective as kind of orienting is what I keep coming back to, or making people aware of the ministry.
Yeah, and Skip has I guess maybe a comment that's interesting where he says, "Stop looking down your nose at people who don't understand what we understand." And
Hmm.
I can understand where he's coming from because again, maybe we do in the church, yeah, we do believe something quite different than some other churches, and there might be that sense that we're better than others if we believe it and they don't. I think that definitely doesn't need to come across.
Hmm.
It's more like what you were doing with Jehovah's Witnesses. What do we have in common
Hmm.
with folks? Y'all have thoughts on that on his comment?
Go ahead, Mike. I know you got something.
All
I
right, hold
can't
on.
hear you
I
though.
think hold on. Try to get you remuted. Sorry. Go ahead. You're muted. I can hear you now, Mike. Go ahead. I think. Why can't I hear Mike?
I don't know.
Are you self muted, Mike?
Maybe he's self muted. He
It
said he
says
did
he's
something to my mic. Okay, so he's going to work on that, I guess. And
Okay.
I'll go ahead and I'll jump in there. So yeah, looking down our noses at people who don't understand what we understand. I think the James 4:17 ministry should be started at some point. The he who knows to do good and does not do it, it is a sin to them. And so you look at that and you think about, okay, there's individuals who have been born in a particular part of the world, in a particular family, and they understand Jesus Christ, the same Jesus Christ we worship, and that is the same God, and they have a different understanding. God has revealed things to them that they have not revealed. He has not revealed to us, and vice versa, right? So you can have some grace, a little bit of, let's say, humility as well inside of what we understand. The best thing we can do is just to simply live what's been revealed to us, what we feel convicted to share, and the best parts of that. And it's not necessarily knowledge based. It's the what I would say, selling the benefits. People should see you living in such a way, I think, that they want to be a part of that. I mean, the best thing you can do is to live your life in such a way, present yourself in such a way, communicate and interact with people that allows for them to see what you believe. They feel it. They can tell from the tone of your voice, from the way that you interact with them, and hopefully you're presenting yourself in such a way that people want to be a part of that. You don't have to look down your nose and say, and rebuke them and chastise them for something that God has not revealed to them. Now, does that say we don't talk about what we believe personally? No, we can talk about what we believe personally. The joy we get out of taking off a single day to spend with God every single week, and the opportunity to just have all that other stuff, the work and all the labor put aside for a little bit, just to focus on being with God and just allowing ourselves to feel that peace and to understand that he wanted that for us. In other words, talk about the benefit, talk about the joy, talk about the good stuff about what we do, and people will be drawn to that. And so I think that's a good way of getting around, a nuanced and sensible approach, as opposed to leading with, Jehovah's Witnesses, come in here. Let me talk to you about how you believe that Jesus was a created being, and really getting into all the things that they're bad and wrong about. And then guess what? People walk away from that feeling like they don't want anything to do with you. If our true intent is to really bring people to a better relationship with God, we should be tolerant and try to, again, be the best parts about our faith with them. Anyways, so that's a little bit about the stop looking down our nose at people who don't understand what we believe.
All right, let's see if we can hear Mike now. Can we hear you, Mike? No, we cannot. Okay.
Oh man.
All right. I'll just you want to continue on your slides, and I'll give Mike some advice here on.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. So this is a little bit about what we just talked about a second ago with the some have it and some don't. The idea about the Great Commission to you individually. There is this belief that some people just have the gift of evangelism and some don't. I don't know if that's something that you guys believe. I think that this is a conversation that everyone needs to be a part of, that everyone has, again, their own form of evangelism. They have their own particular gifts that God has given them. They're unique. And that will allow for them to be, the kind of evangelist that God created them to be. There's a lot of different ways of evangelizing, again. So this is kind of rehashing some of the ground we've already covered. So if you want to go to the next slide. So, how do we have meaningful conversations about God in a way that people are left with wanting to know more? And we could even say, how do we have meaningful interactions? It's probably better about God. And I think we've already brought this up again. It's not just conversation based, but what I would like to distinguish here at this point in the conversation is the idea of specialization. There is, so we've talked about this a couple times now about there's no one way to evangelize. There's no just sermons, just telecasts, just radio programs. It's like, no, there's more. There's more involved. There's some people who do social evangelism. They go out and they create, let's say parties or gatherings where people can come together and worship God. We can go out to the community and sing to the elderly, right? That's a form of evangelism. There's all these different types of evangelism. We can give people gift bags with a prayer in there for them as well to people. I mean, there's all these different types, right? So how do you train people? How do you have a comprehensive way of training people when all the approaches are unique? Provides a challenge, doesn't it? It's a bit difficult. Well, we thought about this and we said, well, let's put together what we call the first blush of this we need a name, by the way. We got to figure out a name for this group. We were trying to figure out what we're going to name all this. We thought the Gardeners Club, some water, some plant, but God gives the increase. Yeah. The day laborers. I thought the day laborers is kind of cool. So maybe that. But anyways,
if the day laborers, that's when I'll join you at the very end, and I'll get the same reward, right?
That's right. We have our friend here, Jeffrey, the 11th, aka the 11th hour attendee. But no, so you have this. The day laborers get together. We have what's called the first blush was a brag session. I didn't like that idea, but the idea is that we just talk to each other about what we've been doing, just brass tacks. What have we been doing? Well, last week I went out and I was, driving along and noticed a guy who had the wheel was literally ripped off his car. And so I stopped off and made sure to check on him. And, he, was in a terrible way, said he fell asleep at the wheel. By the way, this actually happened just a couple days ago, and to talk about that, and I asked to pray with him. Right. And so we prayed and, anyways, I gave him a pamphlet. I told him, gave him a business card. I'm kidding. Gave him a business card. No, that was it. And so then we go around, right? We do a round robin. We go around the whole group. Let's say there's 15 or 20 people, and everyone is talking about what they did this last month, about what they would consider to be an evangelistic effort or action. And, maybe the more abstract, the better, right? I don't know. So I know if I would consider that to be a form of evangelism, right? Well, tell me why you think it is a form of evangelism. Tell me why not. And then, so everyone shares their story, their action. Well, I gave a great message, I thought, and people came up to me afterwards, and there was some good things and there was some bad things. And anyways, we talk about our hits and our misses, what we've been doing. And I even kind of cringe when I say hits and misses, because that presumes that we know what a hit is. And that also presumes that we know what a miss is. You could be doing things that are effective, but just because you didn't see that person, little light bulb moment go off right there in front of you when you're having this interaction, doesn't mean it wasn't effective. So, but anyways, you get the point. Everyone's going around this round robin. They're talking about what they've been doing. And people, for one, are hearing a unique approach that maybe they haven't heard before. They go, oh, that's really cool. I like that idea. I like the idea of putting together care packages for the homeless. Whenever I am out and about, and I can just hand that off to someone. And this lady was talking about all the different little items she puts in that bag. Oh, that's cool. That makes it easier for me. Now I know what she's been doing. And then you go, hey, hey, later on, let me talk to you about, what you might consider is putting in there a hand of Purell. I don't know, but something that is a feedback. In other words, we're having this conversation now about specialization. Okay, getting better at our evangelistic efforts, but it's unique, yet we're able to still be of service to one another in a meaningful way. And this way, we're not just saying, because all I've heard about evangelism from most groups, it's a mile wide and it's an inch deep, right? It's a bunch of interesting interactions. It's the old tried and true approaches. It's maybe the scriptural examples. that are kind of antiquated, maybe because they're, because this book was written, a long time ago. But it's not getting deep, right? And what I want to have is an inch wide and a mile deep conversation about evangelism. What does it look like on the front lines? How are we doing it right now? How is it? What's working? What's not working? You tell me what you're doing. You tell me what you're doing. What's working? What's not working? And then we're going to give each other some feedback, and we're going to grow. And we're going to get better, and we're going to take this training approach to it. And I'm more interested in hearing about things that we've done that we think we failed at, because that's where there's real growth. Tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me where I need to reevaluate. And that's something that we've been kicking around. And I think, and then so the idea is that you have this conversation with all these people and going around, and they're sharing all those different approaches. And then what you might see happen, guys, is you might start to see, well, hey, I noticed that so and so has the same kind of approach that I do, right? I see that Seth does some of the same stuff that I do. Offline, Seth and I, and then also I noticed that Steve over there, Steve does some of the same stuff too. We're three going to have a conversation about our particular flavor of evangelism, and then we're going to get real dialed in. We're going to become specialized in that kind of approach, and we're going to become better and better at it. So do we have Mike back yet, or no? Okay. What do you think about that, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm hoping maybe Mike could maybe connect on his phone or something.
Okay.
I sent him a link, and maybe we could try something to get Mike back on. But so for right now, we'll wait on Mike to do that. But yeah, I guess this things about sharing things that we do and what we can do better, or what we can help each other with. I guess there's so much. I just want to talk to someone who has success stories. Like, who do we know that's successful? Like, what are we doing that's successful? Because that's what we all need to probably imitate or copy. What's the most successful things that we're doing?
Well, that's what I came to I created this group originally because that's exactly what I wanted to find out. And I come to find out that I don't know, I don't necessarily know what success is per se, maybe. We have, I don't know if there's a metric that can measure that. What success is. We can't control conversion. We can't even necessarily see conversion per se. We can see the actions that a converted person might do. So maybe you start to see, what someone's doing. Maybe they're joining the church. They're there at attendance with you. Maybe the church is growing. So you consider that to be a success. I mean, I could see that being something. Okay, well, the church has been growing by 5 people, per month. That's something's going on here. What are you guys doing? And so, unfortunately, man, I don't know of any groups that are growing right now. Do you?
The thing that I've kind of figured out, I guess, and this is probably not much, is that having a webcast helps grow a church. If you can,
Okay.
just at least in our
See
CGI
that?
congregations, and but yeah, I don't have a very big sample size. I just have like 3 or 4 congregations. But I do know that once we start webcasting, more people are more likely to watch online, and if they're in an area, they may come. So I think that's one of the things that we can do, as a whole church, to do locally, as far as inviting people out and doing those type of things. I don't know. I don't know what works or what doesn't work, because it's just
Sure.
what I guess what Bill says, that death and attrition rates are high for Church of God groups now.
Yeah. There's a population crunch. So we're dealing with multiple factors, right? Multiple things that are influencing, but I think that's kind of irrelevant in some ways, right? We're going to always have those things going on. What can we do? What are we up to? What are our actions? And to get ourselves into a rhythm and into a kind of a schedule that really includes evangelism. And I think that it should be intentional, but also it should come off as just who you are. I don't think come off as, because that seems like it's like a put on. I just mean, it's just it's what you do. It's a part of your life. And I think, do we focus on some people and not others? I think that we focus on whoever's in front of us. Everyone, is an opportunity, let's say, to just contribute to and to love. And let God sort them out, let's say here. There is a lot of great comments coming in here. I'm looking over here.
That's what we got here. Let's read one from Bill. Group meetings of all kinds have lower attendance. Kiwanis, Rotaries, political church people. Just don't go to things as much. Internet has created a passive experience culture.
Yeah. There was one group that I've noticed that has been kind of growing over the last couple of years, and that is Oak Stone. This group is in Dallas. No, they haven't grown tremendously, but growing, even staying at the static, even staying, baseline is good these days. But what I noticed there was a lot of
my question I asked about them growing.
Mm-hmm.
Did they? Because I know they came from some other people who were Church of God who are going there. Are they just growing from people in Church of God who are looking for somewhere else to go? Is it transfer,
good point.
or are they bringing in new people from what they're doing? And that's what I would be curious to know. I don't really, I don't know enough about that to know, but I do know their model is. I guess they have a more praise and worship type experience for people where there's, I guess, more contemporary music. People a little more freer with their emotions than you would see in a normal Church of God culture, and it's definitely a different approach. That is there, and I guess Bill says, it's just
but I think they're onto something with moving in that direction for this culture and this time and this place, because right now I don't think that Christians. I think there's a lot of things going on. The reason why things, the churches aren't growing. I think that the best thing is for us to consider the fact that maybe we don't have all the answers. Maybe we've been doing it. Maybe there's something that we can do differently, and to constantly be humble and to meet people right where they're at, which is what Jesus does and what God does, right? They meet them right where they're at. And I think that we are looking for something in the way of results that is not beneficial. I think it's like David taking the census. I think that we need to get more focused on just personal behavior and what we live and how we live. And then the results will just come. But that doesn't mean to slack off. That doesn't mean to, just let grace abound per se. I think that you have to, we have to keep ourselves in motion. And if we don't see people showing up to church, to not take that as a slight, or to take that as a way of saying that maybe maybe what I did hasn't been working. Incorporating a little bit more emotion. I think the emotion part of it is actually the vulnerability. I think historically in the church, we haven't seen much vulnerability. And so people conflate those two. Usually when you're being vulnerable, you're typically more emotional. And so I would say being transparent or being, let's say, authentic with people works. Everyone it seems like in scripture is just being they're being authentic. And, in the way of the good guys, right? The best ones. David was being authentic with God. He was never trying to pretend something. He wasn't, there was no pretense with him. I think that's why he was a man after God's own heart. And that authenticity, I think people right now, especially in the age of the self and the selfie, people who see authentic behavior are going to be drawn to that. I also don't think that right now people see much of a need for God with so much opulence. And so we're going to have, I think it's a tiny flock just by design with the continuation of so much the stuff, all the more we have access to. A lot of time historically, we've been persecuted. We've been in some ways going through trials. That the good news was really good news because it said, hey, look, what you're going through right now, it's not going to be this way forever. There will be a point in which God wipes away every tear. And it's like, oh, that's good news. Well, let me, let's tell me more. It's like, now it's like, hey, look, you have everything you wanted on 15,000 different channels, and actually, millions of channels if you're on YouTube, and what flavor do you want it? Who do you want it by? You could get pleasures on tap.
Yeah, you know what?
And
I think focusing on good news may be a key to things that we should be doing, because I think a lot of times it's been like Church of God tradition, believing that we have to be some type of watchman and we got to tell people all the bad news and everything that's bad that's going on, and we got to warn people of all this bad stuff. And I don't know how well that appeals if you don't have that good news. I'm not saying not to warn people. I'm just saying you got to have that good news and let people know the hope that is there. I mean, I remember when I first watched the World Tomorrow program. I don't remember bad news on it. I just remember it was a lot of hope about the kingdom of God that was talked on that program. Always this hope, always this
Mhm.
future world, always this great stuff that's coming. Was everything that I heard when I was watching that, and I was 10. So I mean, I have it from that perspective, but that's what I remember. Is I remember good news when I was being called. Let's see if Mike is on. Can you hear us? Can you talk, Mike?
Yeah. Can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Hey, there he is.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. I just wanted to say that I think that we need to continue doing whatever we're doing, that we can't stop. And part of the problem, I think, is people give up. They get dejected. They feel they aren't getting any results. And, that's part of why I put a church out here in Pasadena, even though we only have a dozen people, because it's a place where people can come who are interested. And I've gotten calls and people have visited, and we've got to keep it going. And I think at
Yes.
certain points, God will bring the increase.
Good point, Mike. I think, yeah, to encourage people to say, hey, look, just because we don't
Mhm,
see what we think to be results, stay in motion. That's the other
mhm,
thing. Ron talks about contacts, focusing on just, staying, out there in front with people, making contacts with people, talking to them, giving them your testimony by the word of your testimony, right? How you came about. And like Bill said, everyone knows times are bad right now. So, you share something about how, you got a
mhm,
smile on your face and a twinkle in your eye.
mhm,
People are going to pick up on that. They're going to want to have a little bit of that shalom that comes
mhm.
across from knowing that, where you're going, so to speak,
Yeah.
who you
Well,
serve.
yeah, I mean, so you're president of CEM, and you reach a lot of people through evangelism with Ron Dart's works.
Hmm.
And would you say, and I could say from CGI, maybe this may be true, but I want to see if it's true. I'm pretty sure it's probably true there, that there are a lot of people who listen to Ron, who support Ron, who get evangelized by the work y'all are doing, who never
Hmm.
come to one of our churches. Do you think that's a good thing to?
Oh yeah, all the
Yeah,
time. So I mean, I don't even necessarily know if that's considered to be evangelism in some ways, right? It's mass evangelism for sure.
yeah,
Of course, we are effective in that, but
yeah.
that's where my conversation has come about what does it actually look like, because we have this radio program on tons of radio stations right online. We reach thousands and thousands of people every day.
Hmm.
They write into us. We have communications. We have interactions with them. But they ask to go to churches, around in the area. But I mean, ultimately, it feels like there's something more. There should be something more going on, and I
Hmm.
think it's because Ron's not around, right? I mean, Ron's not a living and breathing, right? These are programs. This is where
Hmm.
mass evangelism doesn't really it doesn't get you all the way there. It's
Hmm.
just it's orienting, it's informative at best,
Hmm.
and then we have to have people, we have to have groups, we have to have a place for people to go to have their heart pricked, to be able to be in community, to be a part of something.
Well, one thing I know, because we do basically the same thing. We have like the Armor of God program that Mike's a part of.
Mhm.
That we do. We broadcast different things that are different subjects that people may be interested in, and we have offers people can write for. They can get on our mailing list. They can watch the different things that we have and stuff. And so we create that group. But I think I think what the need I see from experience is that we people will come to church. You'll say, "Hey, there's a church there." People will come to church, but we have a way of not closing the deal. Right.
Closing the deal.
In other words, we get them to come through the doors, and again, if I could count the amount of people who've come through the doors in the churches that I've been in, uh, that would triple the size of the church or quadruple the size of the church we have if they were to stay. We have we have a problem, I think, or some or a challenge or an opportunity. I would maybe say that when people come to our doors who are coming from these mass evangelism things we're doing, we're not good at closing the deal. We're not good at finishing that evangelism at
Connecting.
the church
Yeah.
or
I think,
connecting or finishing with it. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that, and I can give you a number of experiences over the years, whether it's at my Maryland group that I was with, or even here in Pasadena. I've had a few people come in the door, seemed interested, came for a few weeks. I didn't see the guy, and I called him. I sent him a email, and I said, "Hey, I'm not trying to be pushy, but
Mhm.
just trying to figure out. You seemed enthused and interested, and what's up?" And he said, "I'm still interested. I just got some things going on," and then never got back to me.
Yeah.
yeah. Charles Gross could give you a master class on this, by the way. I notice whenever people come in, he goes and he doesn't go, "Who are you? Who sent you? What did they say?" You know, he he goes over very, very unassuming and just, curious and, hey, how's it going? I'm Charles Gross, and not I'm Charles Gross, the previous, president of the organization. Nothing like that. Just like a real, natural, friendly, and curious. And how can we be of assistance? What's going on? What's your story? Let's, and we've had a lot of people come right back. So the Tyler group's doing pretty good as far as new members. We have a lot of new people, and that's watching Charles interact with people has been great to see what it looks like just to have a real, I would say, authentic conversation with someone about what's going on in their life. But I agree with you, Jeff. I think that there has been a lack of that historically, and the only way to get better at it is to do it. So the thing to do is to get into motion, stay in motion. I like Mike saying, "Hey, look, keep going." Let's, I want to encourage everyone that a lot of these calls have really been helpful in telling me that what we need to be doing is just continuing to have conversations, continue to have interactions, continue to share the joy. There's been great suggestions. I'll continue to hopefully maybe to continue this conversation with you guys. I didn't even get to my notes. I'm sorry. I think that we get some great conversation going about these different points. And I think it's okay to have sidebar conversations, especially when we're talking about discipleship and evangelism. It's a huge subject. It's something that we're all involved in. And so, anyways, just thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, I'm glad you share this and discussing this, because again, it is a thing that we in the church we really I guess we had the model that worked really well in the 60s and 70s. If you would, it's that there were the wide evangelism on the television, radio, and then you had people who came to the churches, and their methods. There's a lot of criticism of the methods as far as, hey, there's that you had the be invited or go to some screening and stuff before they there were some things that were different, but they were able to get people in churches with what they were doing. You can't deny that was not effective at that time. I think right now, we probably we don't reach as many people. We don't, the things we're swallowed up by the internet. We're swallowed up by television. The message, even if you combine all the messages of the Church of God together, we're still so small compared to the messaging of other churches and other things that are distracting the people. So I think it's just less people are hearing the truth. There's less seed being spread, and it probably kind of trickles down to the church level is what my
Hey,
general feeling is.
yeah, and I think the Bible speaks to that.
Small flock.
That the word is going to diminish as
Amos.
we move closer to the second coming. I mean, I can
Famine of
show
the
you some
word.
scriptures
Yep.
that seem to say that.
Yeah, famine of the word. That's right. And there's captivity out there in front of us. So I mean, I think if anything, I want us to leave the call with is, like Mike said, encouraging people to first to know that God wants you to share your faith with other people, and however you can do that, however that comes across as being real, you can share about where you've struggled with that, where you have overcome certain things that maybe they've been dealing with, and that you're just because again you don't see them showing up to your church, that weekend, that Sabbath. Don't take it that it wasn't effective. And to know that you have your own particular flavor, you have your own particular God-given gifts, and so you're going to have a different way of evangelizing them than someone else, maybe a minister or pastor or some deacon in the church. So not to be caught up on making sure it looks a certain kind of way. But also I think that I think there's a lot to be said in the way of suffering with other people too. We didn't cover that, but I think there's a lot in shared suffering. It's a huge amount of what would you say? I wouldn't say credibility, but credence inside of when you suffer with other individuals. That is a very connecting activity. That's a thing where people see you shoulder to shoulder with them, working through problems. They know you have your best interest at heart. I think my last slide said something to the effect of, the old adage, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It is so true, and especially with evangelism, there it is. That once you're there with them, shoulder to shoulder on the front lines with whatever that means this day and age, they'll be interested. They're going to ask you a question at some point. And, Peter says to be prepared to give an answer for the hope that's found in you with gentleness and meekness. So, focus on that gentle and meekness part, and then get in action, is the last part of that. Do something. It is you.
Yeah.
It is now.
Yeah.
Don't think about it. Pull off on the side of the road when you see someone on the side of the road. Go help that person across the street with their trash. You know what I mean? Just get into action. And then the conversations will lead in an organic way to God, hopefully.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things going on in our culture that affects, I guess, evangelism and stuff. But I think we shouldn't be discouraged that hey, I'm discouraged because I only have 12 people in church. You should be very encouraged that you're able to share the Sabbath day with 12 others who believe the same thing you believe, or if it's with one or two others, that God has called them and that God has put y'all together for a reason to be part of a family, and that we're all called to be part of this church now. Again, and it seems like even though we might be doing well here in the United States, places like Africa and other places seem to be a little more hot spots where more and more we have. That's where a lot of our growth, as far as church is going, is happening in places that aren't the United States, and
it's true.
It's just so don't be discouraged. God's work will be done. You're right. Whether He uses us or rocks to do it, God's work will be done. All this will be fine. We just
or a donkey.
Or a donkey, yeah.
The patron saint of the evangelist, the donkey, Balaam's donkey.
I can remember meeting with 4 people back in Maryland for a number of weeks, and one of the guys was discouraged by it, and I let him know there was a period of time where I didn't have anybody to meet with, and now that I had 4 people, I was glad for that. And when I've got 12 people usually here, I just think back to the 4 people.
Yeah, that's right. It's highly contextualized, right? This success looks different ways, man.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't even get into the macro, micro, and social evangelism. I don't even know if y'all want to have having back on, we can start to distinguish some of that. And I think
Okay.
hopefully people have found these conversations that we've had the last two helpful.
Yeah.
I've
And
enjoyed them.
I think we've also been very self-critical. Like a lot of people will be surprised of how
Mm-hmm.
honest that we're being about evangelism. Because a lot of churches out there, they like to put on the front that we're just the best at evangelism. We're doing so great and things are good. And we got this website and we got this
Good point.
television program and we're working and we're doing stuff. And they'll go out and they'll have a meeting and they'll ask people to come to it, and like 4 people show up. And
Yeah,
these are bigger organizations than we're involved in are having the same issues. So it's a thing that we definitely, I think God wants us to ask the questions because he knows the answers and he wants us to probably work to that answer by relying on him.
very
And I
good.
think
But here's the thing: if we did have 100 or 200 people showing up, would we really be working as hard or trying as hard? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This
Interesting.
keeps us hungry.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, Mike. Yeah, and I appreciate that point too, Jeff, because yeah, I don't think people are willing to have a vulnerable or authentic conversation about where they've been failing. It's funny, people, when I started the call, I said, I started this call because I suck at evangelism. They're like, oh, okay. Aren't you a minister? It's like, well, yeah, and that, so. But I think that, yeah, authenticity has been lacking, vulnerability has been lacking, and we're having that vulnerable conversation on blast here. So good, kudos to both you guys for being willing to say, you know what, we have some things that have been working, but we're not interested in that. We're interested in more focusing on what's not been working. How can we become better at looking at where we've been struggling, let's say. Because there's cheese down that tunnel. If you're already doing stuff that works, great, keep doing that. But you can grow by having difficult conversations about where we've been failing. And a lot of people in the church, not just the COGs, churches at large, right, don't want to have that conversation. Never let them see you sweating.
Yeah, I think it's the thing when we prove all things. I think a main thing about proving all things is basically like we're honest with the facts. We're honest with the evidence that's out there. We're not going to try to put on a false pretense because by doing those things, we're not going to progress. But I'm a hopeful person. I'm a person that says, I think we're going to progress. I think we're going to figure this out. God's going to use us in the ways that He has chosen to use us, whatever that may be, in those things. And again, it may be, after we're all gone, that He does another work where He brings, or whatever. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. It's that we just know that we should be very grateful to be a part of the calling, a part of what God is doing in our lives, and hopefully that we'll can pass that on to others.
Amen.
All right. Anything else you want to leave us with,
Sounds
Blake,
good.
before we head out?
Yes. Want to put out a challenge to all those that are listening to get outside your comfort zone. You've had an idea, you've had a thought, you've considered something that might be kind of cool, kind of neat, kind of a different approach. Try it out. Go fail at it. Go do it terribly. Go and get into action. Have that conversation. I want to challenge everyone on the call, you guys included, to go meet your neighbors. If you haven't met your literal neighbors, literally go and introduce yourself. And don't lead with, I'm a Sunday keeper, I'm a Sabbatarian, right? I want to challenge everyone to, again, get into action. Have conversations at the doctor's office with that little old lady or whoever, the guy next door, next to you with all the tattoos. Ask him what his tattoos mean. Be that light in the world and get outside of our comfort zone.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right. Definitely good things to think about. So I appreciate you joining us today. A lot of things to think about. If anybody out there who, if you have questions, send them to us or comments. We definitely appreciate that as well. And again, everybody who's watching and all your comments today, we thank you for those as well. So we will look forward to seeing everybody next time on another edition of Prove All Things. Goodbye for now.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Bye-bye.